Maria Santos had never imagined her life would take such an unexpected turn when she enlisted in the Navy at 19. Growing up in a small town in Texas, she was the daughter of a single mother who cleaned offices at night to make ends meet. Maria learned the value of hard work early, often helping her mother with cleaning jobs during summer breaks. Her hands became accustomed to the roughness of industrial cleaning supplies, and her back grew strong from hours of mopping floors and scrubbing surfaces. The decision to join the Navy came after high school when college seemed financially impossible and job opportunities in her were limited to fast food restaurants and retail stores. The military recruiter painted a picture of adventure, education benefits, and the chance to see the world. Maria signed the papers with hope burning in her chest, and her mother's proud but worried tears still fresh in her memory. Boot camp at Great Lakes Naval Training Center was unlike anything Maria had experienced. The physical demands pushed her body to its limits, while the mental challenges forced her to dig deep into reserves of determination she didn't know existed. She excelled in most areas, but struggled with some of the more technical aspects of naval training. Her drill instructors noticed her exceptional work ethic and attention to detail, qualities that would serve her well in her assigned role. After graduation, Maria received orders to Naval Base in San, California. The base was home to the Naval Special Warfare Command, though Maria knew little about what that meant when she first arrived. Her assignment was to the base facility's maintenance crew, a role that involved everything from groundskeeping to building maintenance. It wasn't the glamorous naval career she had initially envisioned, but Maria approached it with the same dedication she brought to everything else. The barracks she was assigned to maintain were older buildings that housed various naval personnel. Each morning, Maria arrived with her cleaning cart, supplies neatly organized and ready for another day of work. She took pride in ensuring these spaces were immaculate, understanding that a clean, well-maintained environment was crucial for the men and women who called these barracks home. On this particular Tuesday morning in September, Maria was assigned to clean the barracks that housed some of the base's special operations personnel. She had heard whispers about the intense training that took place on parts of the base, but her clearance level and job responsibilities kept her far from those activities. As she pushed her cart down the hallway, she could hear the distant sounds of physical training echoing from the nearby facilities. The morning routine was always the same. Maria would start with the common areas, sweeping and mopping the floors with methodical precision. She had developed an efficient system over her months on the base, working quickly but thoroughly. Her supervisor had praised her work multiple times, and Maria took satisfaction in knowing that her efforts contributed to the overall mission readiness of the base. As she swept the main corridor of the barracks, Maria noticed several men in military fatigues walking past. Their bearing was different from the typical sailors she encountered daily. These men moved with a quiet confidence and alertness that was unmistakable. Their conversation was subdued, and they carried themselves with the disciplined posture of elite military personnel. Maria continued her work, focusing on reaching every corner and crevice with her broom. She had learned early in her naval career to keep her head down and focus on her duties, especially around personnel who outranked her significantly. The last thing she wanted was to draw unwanted attention or appear to be eavesdropping on conversations that were likely classified. One of the men stopped near where Maria was working. He was tall, probably in his early 30s, with the kind of weathered face that spoke of extensive time spent outdoors in challenging conditions. His uniform bore no visible rank insignia that Maria could immediately identify, but something about his presence commanded respect. He watched her work for a moment, observing her technique and attention to detail. Maria continued sweeping, trying not to let his presence affect her concentration. She had developed a rhythm to her work that allowed her to clean efficiently while staying out of the way of base personnel going about their duties. The broom moved in steady, overlapping strokes, ensuring no debris was left behind. The man stepped closer, and Maria glanced up briefly, offering a polite nod of acknowledgement before returning to her work. She had been taught to be respectful but not to interrupt military personnel unless directly addressed. The hierarchy of the military was something she understood and respected, even in her support role. What happened next would change the trajectory of Maria's life in ways she could never have anticipated. The man didn't simply walk past as she expected. Instead, he continued to observe her work, his trained eye taking in details that most people would miss. In the special operations community, attention to detail could mean the difference between mission success and failure, between life and death. Maria's sweeping technique was flawless. Her strokes were efficient and thorough. Her posture maintained proper ergonomics to prevent fatigue, and she moved with a quiet professionalism that spoke of genuine pride in her work. These were qualities that the observing SEAL recognized as valuable far beyond the scope of facilities maintenance. The morning sun streamed through the barracks windows, casting long shadows across the floor that Maria was systematically cleaning. The routine nature of her work had become almost meditative, allowing her mind to wander to thoughts of her family back home, her plans for continuing her education, and her hopes for advancement within the Navy. She had no way of knowing that her simple act of sweeping a floor was about to become the first step in an extraordinary journey that would test her limits, challenge her assumptions about her own capabilities, and ultimately lead her down a path she had never considered possible. The man watching her work was about to make an offer that would transform her understanding of what she could achieve in the military. As Maria continued her methodical cleaning, unaware of the life-changing moment that was about to unfold, the sounds of training continued in the distance. The Navy SEALs were conducting their daily physical training, pushing their bodies and minds to maintain the peak performance required for their missions. Soon, Maria would understand firsthand what that kind of training entailed and discover that her own potential was far greater than she had ever imagined. The SEAL stepped directly into Maria's path, causing her to pause her sweeping. She looked up, meeting his steady gaze with a mixture of curiosity and slight apprehension. In her months at the base, she had learned to read the subtle cues that indicated when someone wanted to speak with her versus when they simply wanted her to continue working and stay out of the way. "Show me," he said simply, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. The words were spoken without aggression, but there was an unmistakable intensity behind them that made Maria's heart rate quicken slightly. Maria hesitated for a moment, uncertain about what exactly he wanted her to show him. She glanced down at the broom in her hands, then back at his face, searching for clarification. "Show you what, sir?" she asked, maintaining the respectful tone she had been taught to use when addressing superior personnel. The man nodded toward the area she had been cleaning. "Your technique. Show me how you approach a task like this." His request was unusual, and Maria could sense that this was more than casual curiosity. There was something in his demeanor that suggested this was some kind of evaluation, though she couldn't imagine why her floor-sweeping technique would matter to someone of his obvious rank and position. Maria repositioned her broom and began demonstrating her cleaning method. She started at the far end of the corridor, working in systematic strips that overlapped slightly to ensure complete coverage. Her movements were economical and efficient, developed through repetition, and her natural inclination toward thoroughness. She explained her approach as she worked, describing how she minimized the number of passes required while ensuring no area was missed. The SEAL watched intently, his trained eye picking up on details that spoke to Maria's character and potential. Her approach was methodical and strategic. She didn't simply push debris around randomly, but had developed a logical system that maximized efficiency. When she encountered obstacles like furniture or equipment, she adapted her technique smoothly without breaking her rhythm or compromising the quality of her work. "Why do you start from that end?" he asked, genuinely interested in her reasoning. Maria paused her work to explain. "The airflow in this building typically moves from east to west due to the ventilation system and the prevailing winds. By starting from the east end, any dust I disturb will be carried away from the areas I've already cleaned rather than settling back down on them. It means I only have to clean each section once instead of having to go back over areas multiple times." The SEAL nodded, impressed by her analytical thinking. This was exactly the kind of systematic problem-solving approach that was essential in special operations. Many people performed their duties adequately, but few took the time to truly understand the underlying dynamics of what they were doing and optimize their approach accordingly. "How long have you been assigned to facilities maintenance?" he inquired, continuing to observe her work. "About 8 months, sir, since I completed my initial training and received my assignment to this base." Maria continued sweeping as she spoke, demonstrating her ability to multitask effectively without losing focus on either the conversation or her work quality. The SEAL was beginning to form a clearer picture of Maria's potential. Her military bearing was excellent, her communication was clear and concise, and she approached even mundane tasks with a level of professionalism that suggested she would bring the same attitude to more challenging responsibilities. These were foundational qualities that could be built upon with the right training and opportunities. "Have you considered other roles within the Navy?" he asked, his question opening the door to a conversation that would prove pivotal for Maria's future. Maria hesitated before answering. She had indeed thought about other possibilities, but her options seemed limited by her initial assignment and the practical realities of military career progression. "I've thought about it, sir, but I'm not sure what opportunities might be available to someone with my background and current role." The SEAL could hear the underlying ambition in her voice, carefully controlled but unmistakably present. He had encountered many service members over the years who were content to do their assigned jobs adequately and nothing more. Maria clearly wasn't one of them. Her question suggested she was open to challenges and growth, even if she wasn't sure how to pursue them. "What interests you most about military service?" he continued, his questions probing deeper into Maria's motivations and aspirations. Maria considered her answer carefully. She could sense that this conversation was somehow important, though she still didn't fully understand why this particular SEAL was taking such an interest in her work and opinions. "I joined the Navy because I wanted to serve my country and challenge myself to become more than I thought I could be. I've learned a lot in my current role, but I feel like I have more to offer if given the opportunity." Her honesty and self-awareness impressed the SEAL further. Many people claimed they wanted challenges, but few were willing to put in the effort required to meet them. Maria's track record of excellence in her current position, despite its routine nature, suggested she had the dedication necessary for more demanding roles. The conversation was interrupted by the approach of several other SEALs returning from their morning training session. They nodded respectfully to their colleague, but continued past without interrupting, understanding that he was engaged in what appeared to be an evaluation or recruitment conversation. In the special operations community, talent identification was an ongoing process, and promising individuals could be found in any role or rank. Maria noticed the deference shown to the man she was speaking with by these other obviously elite personnel, confirming her suspicion that he held a position of significant authority and respect within the special operations community. This realization made his interest in her work and potential even more intriguing and slightly intimidating. "Physical fitness is obviously important in military service," the SEAL observed, noting Maria's lean but strong build. "How do you maintain your conditioning?" Maria described her daily fitness routine, which included running, strength training, and the mandatory physical fitness requirements for all Navy personnel. She had always been naturally athletic and had maintained her conditioning even before joining the military. Her current routine was more structured and demanding than what she had done as a civilian, but she had adapted well to the increased expectations. The SEAL listened as Maria detailed her training regimen, nodding her familiarity with various exercise modalities and her obvious comfort with physical challenges. He was building a comprehensive picture of her capabilities and potential, evaluating whether she might be a candidate for opportunities that would require significantly higher levels of physical and mental performance. As their conversation continued, Maria began to sense that this encounter was leading somewhere specific, though she couldn't yet imagine what that destination might be. The SEAL's questions were clearly purposeful, and his interest in her background, abilities, and motivations seemed to go far beyond casual curiosity. She found herself hoping that whatever he had in mind might represent the kind of opportunity for growth and challenge that she had been seeking since arriving at the base. The morning sun had risen higher, and the barracks were becoming more active as personnel began their daily routines. Maria was aware that she still had other areas to clean, but she sensed that this conversation was taking priority over her normal schedule. The SEAL seemed in no hurry to conclude their discussion, suggesting that whatever evaluation was taking place was important enough to warrant the time investment. The SEAL introduced himself as Senior Chief Petty Officer Michael Harrison, a name that Maria had heard mentioned in hushed tones around the base. He was a legend within the special operations community, with multiple deployments and decorations that spoke to his exceptional service record. The fact that someone of his stature was taking personal interest in her potential was both thrilling and overwhelming for Maria. Senior Chief Harrison explained that the Navy SEALs were exploring opportunities to expand their support capabilities with personnel who demonstrated exceptional attention to detail, physical capability, and mental resilience. While the traditional SEAL roles remained unchanged, There was growing recognition that mission success often depended on support personnel who could perform at levels comparable to the operators they assisted. Maria listened intently as Harrison described a pilot program designed to identify and develop personnel from various backgrounds who showed potential for specialized support roles within the special operations community. These positions would require clearance levels far above her current authorization, physical conditioning that exceeded standard Navy requirements, and mental toughness that could withstand the pressures of high-stakes operations. The program Harrison described was unlike anything Maria had heard about during her military training. Candidates would undergo a modified version of SEAL training, adapted to focus on the specific skills required for their support roles while still maintaining the elite standards that define the special operations community. The physical demands would be intense, the mental challenges would push participants to their breaking points, and the failure rate was expected to be high. Harrison was candid about the difficulties involved. The training would last 6 months and would test every aspect of Maria's character and capabilities. Many candidates with impressive backgrounds had failed to complete similar programs, unable to meet the demanding standards or handle the psychological pressure of constant evaluation. Success would require dedication, resilience, and a willingness to push through barriers that most people considered insurmountable. Despite the sobering description of the challenges involved, Maria found herself increasingly excited about the possibility. This was exactly the kind of opportunity she had hoped for when she joined the Navy, though she had never imagined it might come in this form. The chance to be part of something larger than herself, to contribute to missions that had real impact, and to develop capabilities she never knew she possessed was everything she had dreamed about. Harrison explained that acceptance into the program would require her to volunteer for a preliminary evaluation process. This would involve several days of physical and mental testing, designed to assess her baseline capabilities and determine whether she had the foundational qualities necessary for success in the full training program. Even passing this initial evaluation would not guarantee acceptance, but it would represent the first step toward an extraordinary opportunity. The conversation was interrupted by Harrison's radio crackling to life with a message requiring his immediate attention. Before leaving, he handed Maria a small card with basic information about the preliminary evaluation process. He emphasized that participation was entirely voluntary and that there would be no negative consequences for her current assignment if she chose not to pursue the opportunity or if she attempted the evaluation and was not selected. Maria tucked the card into her pocket, her mind racing with possibilities and concerns. The opportunity was exactly what she had hoped for, but the stakes were higher than anything she had previously encountered. Failure would not impact her current position, but the knowledge that she had tried and fallen short of such an elite standard would be difficult to live with. Over the following days, Maria found herself unable to focus completely on her routine duties. The card in her pocket seemed to carry weight far beyond its physical mass, representing a potential future that was both exciting and terrifying. She researched everything she could about SEAL training and the demands it placed on participants, trying to prepare herself mentally for what lay ahead if she chose to pursue the opportunity. The preliminary evaluation would take place over a long weekend, allowing participants to maintain their regular duties while exploring this possibility. Maria would need to report to a different section of the base, one she had never accessed before, where the testing would be conducted away from the normal flow of base activities. The secrecy surrounding the program only added to its allure and intimidation factor. Maria sought advice from her supervisor, who had been consistently supportive of her professional development. While he couldn't provide specific guidance about special operations programs, he encouraged her to pursue any opportunity that aligned with her goals and capabilities. He had observed her work ethic and dedication firsthand, and believed she had the potential to succeed in more demanding roles. The decision ultimately came down to Maria's assessment of her own readiness and desire for the challenge. She had joined the Navy to push her limits and serve at the highest level possible. While she had been successful in her current role, she knew that playing it safe would not lead to the kind of meaningful career she wanted to build. The risk of failure was significant, but the potential rewards were even greater. Maria spent her off-duty hours preparing both physically and mentally for the evaluation. She intensified her fitness routine, focusing on the types of exercises she expected to encounter based on her research. She also worked on mental preparation, developing strategies for maintaining focus and determination under pressure. The unknown elements of the evaluation were impossible to prepare for specifically, but she could ensure her general readiness was as high as possible. The support of her family back home provided additional motivation. Her mother had always encouraged her to pursue her dreams, regardless of the obstacles involved. When Maria called home to discuss the opportunity, her mother's pride and confidence gave her the final push she needed to commit to the evaluation process. As the weekend of the preliminary evaluation approached, Maria felt a mixture of nervousness and anticipation that reminded her of the days before shipping out to boot camp. The difference was that this time, she had a much clearer understanding of what military training entailed and how much it could demand of participants. Her months of service had given her confidence in her ability to handle challenging situations, but she also understood that what lay ahead would likely exceed anything she had previously experienced. The night before the evaluation, Maria laid out her gear and reviewed the brief instructions she had been given. The testing would begin early in the morning and would continue throughout the weekend, with participants eliminated as they failed to meet the required standards. Only a small percentage of those who began the process were expected to complete it successfully, making advancement to the full training program a significant achievement in itself. Maria understood that the next few days would either open doors to opportunities she had never imagined or teach her valuable lessons about her own limitations. Either outcome would contribute to her growth and development, but she was determined to give her absolute best effort to pursue the extraordinary possibility that Senior Chief Harrison had presented to her. The preliminary evaluation began at 500 hours on a Saturday morning with Maria and 11 other candidates gathering at a facility she had never seen before. The group was diverse, representing various backgrounds and specialties from across the base. Some were obviously seasoned military personnel with multiple deployments, while others, like Maria, appeared to be relatively new to service but had somehow distinguished themselves enough to earn this opportunity. The first phase of evaluation was a comprehensive physical fitness assessment that went far beyond the standard Navy physical readiness test. Candidates were required to complete a series of exercises designed to test not only their current conditioning, but also their potential for improvement under intensive training conditions. The standards were clearly established, but the instructors made it evident that meeting minimums would not be sufficient for advancement. Maria surprised herself by performing well in most of the physical challenges. Her months of dedicated fitness training had prepared her better than she realized, and her natural competitiveness drove her to push beyond what she thought were her limits. When several candidates struggled with particular exercises, Maria found herself internally calculating what she needed to do to avoid joining them in elimination. The psychological evaluation component proved even more challenging than the physical tests. Candidates faced scenarios designed to assess their decision-making under pressure, their ability to maintain composure during chaos, and their capacity for working effectively as part of a team while maintaining individual accountability. Maria quickly realized that the evaluators were looking for specific mental characteristics that would be essential for success in high-pressure operational environments. One exercise required candidates to solve complex puzzles, while instructors created deliberate distractions and time pressure. Another involved leadership scenarios where candidates took turns directing their peers through challenging tasks while being evaluated on both their leadership effectiveness and their ability to follow others when not in charge. These exercises revealed personality traits and thinking patterns that were impossible to assess through traditional interviews or resume reviews. By the end of the first day, 3 candidates had been eliminated from the program. The reasons were not explicitly stated, but it was clear that the evaluators had seen enough to determine that these individuals did not possess the foundational qualities necessary for advancement. Maria felt both relief at surviving the first cut and increased pressure, knowing that the standards would only become more demanding as the process continued. The second day focused on practical skills assessment and adaptability testing. Candidates were taught new procedures and then immediately tested on their ability to execute them under increasingly difficult conditions. The pace was relentless, designed to simulate the rapid skill acquisition and performance under stress that would be required during actual training and operational deployments. Maria discovered capabilities she didn't know she possessed. When faced with technical challenges that seemed beyond her background, she found ways to analyze the problems systematically and develop effective solutions. Her experience in facilities maintenance had taught her to troubleshoot complex systems, and those problem-solving skills translated surprisingly well to the military scenarios she encountered during evaluation. The teamwork components revealed both Maria's strengths and areas where she needed improvement. Her natural inclination to ensure thoroughness and attention to detail sometimes conflicted with the need for rapid decision-making in dynamic situations. However, she demonstrated an ability to adapt her approach based on feedback and changing circumstances, a quality that the evaluators noted favorably. Senior Chief Harrison made periodic appearances throughout the evaluation, observing the candidates and consulting with the evaluation team. When he watched Maria during one of the more challenging exercises, she felt the weight of his expectations, but tried to channel that pressure into improved performance rather than allowing it to create anxiety that might negatively impact her abilities. The third and final day of evaluation included a comprehensive interview process where candidates discussed their motivations, career goals, and understanding of what they were volunteering for. The interviews were conducted by a panel of special operations personnel who asked probing questions designed to assess psychological readiness and commitment levels. Maria found these conversations more intimidating than the physical challenges, as they required her to articulate thoughts and feelings she had never been forced to examine so deeply. When asked about her willingness to face extreme physical and mental challenges over an extended period, Maria drew on her memories of helping her mother through difficult times and her own journey from a small town to military service. She spoke honestly about her fears and uncertainties while emphasizing her determination to prove herself worthy of the opportunity she was being offered. The panel questioned her extensively about her understanding of the commitment involved. The full training program would consume 6 months of her life completely, with no guarantee of success regardless of her effort level. Even if she completed the program successfully, her subsequent assignments would involve responsibilities and risks far beyond her current experience. They wanted to ensure that her enthusiasm was based on realistic understanding, rather than romanticized notions about special operations work. As the evaluation concluded, Maria felt a complex mixture of exhaustion, pride, and anticipation. She had given her absolute best effort and felt confident that she had demonstrated her capabilities effectively. Whether those capabilities would be judged sufficient for advancement was beyond her control, but she had no regrets about her performance during the evaluation process. The candidates were informed that results would be available within 1 week, allowing time for the evaluation team to review their assessments and make final selection decisions. Maria returned to her regular duties, but found it difficult to concentrate fully on routine tasks when the possibility of life-changing news was hanging over her future. Her colleagues in facilities maintenance noticed a change in Maria's demeanor, though they were unaware of what she had been doing over the weekend. She carried herself with increased confidence and seemed to approach even mundane tasks with renewed energy and focus. The evaluation process had reminded her of her own capabilities and potential, regardless of what the final outcome might be. Senior Chief Harrison stopped by the facility's maintenance office later that week, ostensibly to check on some routine matters, but actually to observe Maria's behavior and attitude following the evaluation. He was pleased to see that the intense weekend had not left her discouraged or distracted from her current responsibilities. Her ability to compartmentalize and maintain professional standards while awaiting important news was another positive indicator of her suitability for advanced training. The waiting period gave Maria time to reflect on what the evaluation had revealed about herself and her goals. Even if she was not selected for this particular program, she now had a much clearer understanding of her capabilities and interests. The experience had opened her eyes to possibilities within military service that she had never previously considered, and she was determined to continue seeking opportunities for growth and challenge, regardless of the immediate outcome. The call came on a Thursday afternoon while Maria was organizing supplies in the maintenance storage room. Senior Chief Harrison's voice was characteristically direct when he asked her to report to his office at her earliest convenience. Maria's heart raced as she made her way across the base, knowing that this conversation would determine whether her military career would continue on its current trajectory or take a dramatic turn toward something extraordinary. Harrison was waiting for her with a folder containing her evaluation results and assessment summaries. His expression was neutral, giving Maria no indication of what news awaited her. She stood at attention as he reviewed the documentation, preparing herself mentally for either outcome while hopping desperately for the opportunity to prove herself in the full training program. "Santos," Harrison began, "you performed exceptionally well during the preliminary evaluation. The assessment team was impressed with your physical capabilities, mental resilience, and adaptability under pressure. You demonstrated exactly the kind of potential we're looking for in this program." Maria felt a surge of relief and excitement, but Harrison's tone suggested there was more to discuss before any final decisions were made. The senior chief explained that Maria had been selected as one of only 4 candidates from the preliminary evaluation to advance to the full training program. This was both an honor and a significant responsibility, as she would be representing not only herself, but also the potential for expanding opportunities within the special operations community for personnel from non-traditional backgrounds. The training program would begin in 6 weeks, giving Maria time to complete additional physical preparation and handle the administrative requirements for her temporary transfer to the Special Operations Training Command. Her current supervisor had already been briefed on the situation and was supportive of her participation, understanding that this represented a significant career development opportunity that aligned with the Navy's broader goals for talent development. Harrison was candid about what lay ahead. The training would be more demanding than anything Maria had experienced, designed to push participants beyond what they believed were their absolute limits. The curriculum would include advanced physical conditioning, specialized technical skills, psychological resilience training, and realistic scenario-based exercises that simulated the pressures of actual operations. Many candidates who successfully completed the preliminary evaluation would not finish the full program. The first month of training would focus on establishing the physical and mental baseline required for advanced instruction. Candidates would face daily challenges designed to build strength, endurance, and mental toughness while beginning to develop the specialized skills required for their support roles. The pace would be relentless, with little time for recovery between increasingly difficult challenges. Maria learned that her specific track within the program would prepare her for intelligence support operations, a role that required exceptional analytical thinking, attention to detail, and the ability to work effectively under extreme pressure. This specialization aligned perfectly with the systematic problem-solving approach that had initially caught Harrison's attention during their first encounter in the barracks. The intelligence support role would involve working directly with SEAL teams during planning and execution phases of operations, providing critical analysis and real-time information processing that could impact mission success and team safety. The responsibility was enormous, requiring not only technical, but also the trust and respect of operators whose lives might depend on the accuracy and timeliness of her work. Training for this role would include advanced computer systems, signal intelligence processing, threat assessment protocols, and communications security procedures. Maria would also receive cross-training in basic combat skills and emergency medical procedures, ensuring she could contribute effectively to team safety and mission accomplishment in various scenarios. The psychological demands of the training were perhaps more challenging than the physical requirements. Candidates would face constant evaluation and feedback designed to identify and address any weaknesses that could compromise operational effectiveness. The training environment was deliberately stressful, preparing participants for the high-pressure situations they would encounter during actual deployments. Harrison explained that successful completion of the program would result in a significant increase in Maria's security clearance, opening doors to career opportunities throughout the military and intelligence communities. The skills and experience she would gain would be valuable far beyond her immediate assignment, providing a foundation for continued professional growth and advancement throughout her military career. The conversation concluded with Harrison emphasizing that Maria's selection was based on her demonstrated potential, but success in the program would require sustained effort and commitment over the 6-month training period. He had confidence in her abilities based on what he had observed, but ultimately her success would depend on her own determination and resilience when faced with challenges designed to test her limits. Maria left Harrison's office with a mixture of excitement and apprehension that reminded her of her feelings before shipping out to boot camp, but amplified significantly. This opportunity represented everything she had hoped for when she decided to join the Navy, but the stakes were higher, and the challenges more demanding than anything she had previously encountered. The weeks before training began passed quickly as Maria prepared herself physically and mentally for the program. She intensified her fitness routine, focusing on the types of exercises she expected to encounter based on the information she had been given. She also spent time researching the intelligence field, trying to build foundational knowledge that would help her during the technical portions of training. Support from her family and colleagues provided additional motivation during this preparation period. Her mother's pride and excitement were evident during their phone conversations, and her supervisor went out of his way to ensure she had the flexibility needed for additional preparation activities. The entire facility's maintenance team seemed to take vicarious pride in Maria's selection, understanding that her success would reflect positively on their unit. As the start date for training approached, Maria felt ready to tackle whatever challenges awaited her. The preliminary evaluation had given her confidence in her abilities while also teaching her valuable lessons about mental preparation and resilience under pressure. She understood that the full program would be exponentially more demanding, but she was determined to prove that Senior Chief Harrison's confidence in her potential had been well placed. The journey that began with a simple question about her sweeping technique was about to enter its most critical phase. Maria's dedication to excellence in even the most routine tasks had opened a door to extraordinary opportunities, and she was prepared to walk through that door with the same commitment to excellence that had brought her this far. The next 6 months would determine whether her potential would be fully realized, and whether she would earn her place among the elite personnel who supported the Navy's most critical missions.